No, we're not really going to go fishing today, but we are going to learn how to cast on. Hi everyone, Tanya Fox here from Crafty Crafters, and today we're going to learn how to do the knit cast on. So let's get started. All you need is a set of needles and a yarn that matches it.
So to start off with, you need to get needles and matching yarn. For this tutorial, I'm using a 6.5mm needle and a worsted weight yarn. Now this is a bigger needle than what you would typically use for a worsted weight. You'd usually use a 5mm, but I want to make the stitches a little bit bigger so that it's easier for you to follow along. So to start off with, what we need to do is we need to make a slip knot. So taking your yarn and putting it out on the table will be a little bit easier until you get used to doing a slip knot. The end with the cutoff piece is called your tail, and the rest of the yarn that goes to your ball is called your working yarn. Grabbing your working yarn, you're just going to simply make a loop, like so. If you put your fingers inside the loop, grabbing the working yarn, so the yarn that's attached to your ball, you're going to pull it up, and as you pull the pieces, you'll see that it makes a slip knot. Now, it's a slip knot because you can make it smaller or bigger by pulling the yarn of the working yarn in and out. And it makes it slippery, hence slip knot. So you're going to go ahead and stick your needle inside the slip knot, and you're going to pull it until it's just snug on the needle. Don't reef on it so it's really hard because you're going to need to get in there in a minute. Now, a trick that I do is I will actually grab my my tail, and I'll just hold it in my hand so I don't accidentally use it as my working yarn. You're going to be working from your thumb to the tip of your needle for this cast on. Now this cast on is called the knit cast on method. It's the one I'll typically go to for most of my projects. Now doing this one will also make knitting a lot easier as you get going. So what you're going to do is you're going to hold the needle with your slip knot in your left hand. With your right hand needle, you're going to go from your thumb up to the tip through this slip knot that you just made. Keep your needles in an X. This will just help you for the first little bit until you get used to this stitch. Your right hand needle always needs to be at the back when you're working. Take your working yarn, you're going to wrap it around the needle, and you're going to come back through the hole that you just went through. Now, when you come back through, you're going to want to snag your working yarn. This is what's going to create a second stitch. Now, if I put these together, you can see I now have a stitch on both my left and my right hand needle. I'm now going to take my left hand needle and I'm going to go from my thumb to the tip up through the stitch that's on that needle. Again, making sure that my right hand needle is at the back. I'm then going to repeat where we are at from the X. I take my working yarn, I wrap it around my right hand rear needle, I come back through the hole that I just came through, pulling up my working yarn. Now you can see I've got 2 stitches on my left and 1 stitch on my right. So again, we just repeat this for the amount of stitches that your pattern calls for you to cast on. I take my left needle from my thumb to the tip through that stitch, keeping my right needle at the back. I wrap my yarn around. I come back down through the same spot that I went in, pulling up the working yarn. Now I end up with a stitch on both needles. And this is what you're just going to keep repeating over and over again until you have the number of stitches that you need. So again, if you make a mistake and you're not quite too sure where you are, pull your right needle out. Pull this yarn until all of the stitches are just on your left hand needle and start the process over again. So to start the process, I take my right needle, I put it into my work. So I'm going in between this stitch here. Making an X, making sure that my right hand needle is at the back. I take my working yarn, wrap it around my needle. I come back through the same spot I went to, pulling up my working yarn. So you can see if I were to keep pulling this, I would make a huge loop with my working yarn. So that's how you know you've pulled the right one up. I'm just gonna go back down. Now, if I put my needles beside, I'm gonna take my left hand needle, go from my thumb to the tip, up through the hole. Again, I'm at my X, my right hand needle is at the back. I wrap my working yarn around, come back through the hole, and there I have another stitch. Now to end this, you would simply take your left hand needle, go up from your thumb to the tip, and slide your right hand needle out. And then all of your stitches are casted on. This is a little bit easier than the thumb-on method in the fact that it makes more a uniform bottom of your work. The thumb-on method is quicker, and you'll be able to see that in one of our other videos, but it can cause some loops and uneven work at the very bottom. Hope you enjoyed this video, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel to check out all of our upcoming videos on how to knit. Thanks for joining us today, and have a crafty day.